Let's have a look at the many oiling and greasing points. This is a 533 Stylist. So I'm going to show you quite all the areas, but I'm not going to point you to every single pivot. And it both goes from the bottom, which is very important on these machines. Going to show you a little bit at the top here. Going to show you the one that's inside the bobbin case and also at the top of the machine. Bear in mind that it's not necessarily shown all in the owner manual, and that does not mean it's not important, because it's a complicated mechanism and it has many moving parts together. I will start with the plastic gears. We need to clean them and we need to remove any kind of grease, and I recommend you use a Q-tip and dip it in rubbing up alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. Try to find the higher grade. Just go with the Q-tip on every single cut in the both wells here. This also need inspected. Usually you will have possibly a crack like this, but make sure and never spin the machine until you see each well, each gear here, it's clean, fully clean. And use a Q-tip like this. It's a bamboo Q-tip. Just split it in two to make it side thinner, and just push against each teeth in between the channels to make sure it's fully clean on both sides. These gears take this kind of grease. You have it here, big and clear. It doesn't have to be Volvo, obviously. It's silicone PTFE. Do not put any other kind of grease and any kind of oil. And speaking of oil, be careful when you oil pivots around these gears. You don't want oil to leak on these gears, and this is particularly important for the lubrication oil here at the top, where is the bobbin case, because too much oil there on the shaft here will leak on this gear. This is one of the sets of plastic gear, and this is the second set. And basically I took a little bit of grease from my tube. It's a white grease, and just spread it with my Q-tip in between each of these, just on one gear. The other one will get spread from the first one. So let's just go for the oiling points. This shaft will be lubricated from above, so we don't care about it at this point. But we have this gear here, and we need to put a drop of oil on the left side of that bracket and a drop of oil on the right side of the bracket. If you forget to put on both sides, I really prefer to put it on both sides because it gets much better inside. Now this is sort of a cam which spins, and you perhaps will find it's black because it's metal wear on it. So first rotate the handle. Use your Q-tip with alcohol to make it shiny. Remove that old metal grit, and then use any kind of grease. You can put this kind of grease, but it's up to you. I prefer a bearing grease on it, and rotate it, right? Rotate and put on the surface here. Now deep there, let me just find it. Yes, it's this one here. This kind of C, if you rotate the handle, you will see there is a metal piece going back and forth. You want to spread to push the metal piece all the way back and spread this face, this face, and this face all the way deep in down, and just make sure it got grease on it. Then I recommend just look at all the pivots here. Try to find pivots. To me, it would be very, very long. This is another pivot. Usually, don't forget, a pivot has two sides, and because it's kind of wide, you want to put a drop of oil on both sides. Rotate the handle by hand and just see what exactly is moving in here, in there, and maybe look from different angles. Let me just try to see. This is another pivot. This is the belt, one of them. It's two belt machine. You want to put a drop here. Perhaps it's better not to put on this side unless you are really careful, so you don't get oil on the belt. Then let me see here. You will have this pivot there, and there are a few pivots. Let me just look again. This one, I believe this one, for instance, here, I don't have good light for it, but I believe this piece is like a shell, a cylinder, and inside you have another cylinder that rotates inside the outside one. I don't remember exactly, but what you want to do is just maybe use a magnifying glass, rotate the handle by hand, and see which part is moving with respect to another one. And then if there are an inner part moving in there, just put a droplet of oil or a drop of oil at the top on the split line, and make sure you repeat on the other side as well. This is just one of those examples. I know there are more than one part like this on this machine. So this would be about the bottom of the machine. Let me try to rotate it a little bit to show you the top of it. It's not that heavy. It's not that heavy, and I like it. I believe this, I'm not sure if this is steel or maybe an alloy, because the machine is not that heavy. Now, if we look at the top, I will not have a good light, but you want to put your drop of oil, and you need to remove the cover in this hole. This is the rear main bracket of the shaft. Then we have this hole here. This is for screw, so don't touch that one, this one. And then there is a trick. I don't think it's necessary to oil this mechanism, although this gear here, this knob, it's very hard to rotate. So I know this is a pressure, this is a pressure plate, so maybe put a drop of tiny bit of grease, just smear here, careful to smear it inside and not towards the outside of this knob. So just put up grease here, so this pressure metal plate will just kind of get that grease on it and will be easier to slide around. You may repeat on the other gears. However, what's important here is we have another worm gear, and it's going to be this one. You want to reach on it with grease, regular grease. This is metal, and just put on each channel a dab of grease. It's going to spread on the other on the opposite gear by itself. Let's look at the front. It's tricky at the front because these bars and this well, or whatever you call it, kind of hide the mechanism. But if you have other same machines, you know there are a lot of linkages in there. And by the way, you are going to find also few plastic linkages. The white that you see here is from a plastic, not metal linkage. It's strong enough, but yes, that's how the machine was done. So obviously you want to put your drop of oil here and here. Now keep in mind, this oil will always, if it's too much, leak down on your presser foot, on your needle bar and adjacent needle. So just a drop of oil, it's enough. And my suggestion would be, if you can reach, maybe you can get one piece of wire, just a wire. You can bend it any way you want. I would put a tiny droplet at the front, or maybe a tiny droplet at the left and a tiny droplet at the right, so it spreads inside this bracket all around. If you put just one at the front, maybe it's not going to spread at the rear. Obviously you may want to clean first if there's any old grease or so. So again, a drop here, and then we have this swing bracket, a drop here. If you can put the machine on the back, on the place it on the handwell side, just put a drop here and a drop here. These are like hinges, right? You see these hinges, the drop here. Actually better to put it above, like that and like that. Now the tricky part is to have a view inside there. So it's impossible for me to film and have good light, but remember, there are pivots that go all the way up here, so you want to reach, and some of the pivots you will see them through some space only at a certain position of the handle. So you need to keep rotating the handle, use a flashlight and look inside what's moving. And remember, there is one pivot here, is like a cylinder which sits on the shaft, and it not only rotates but also moves back and forth. On that cylinder I put a dab of grease, a little bit of grease, or at least sewing machine oil if you don't have grease at hand. Perhaps you have already grease at hand. So don't forget to lubricate that thing. if you don't understand what I'm talking about, maybe look at another video from a just more simple sewing machine. It's exactly the same mechanism, the same linkages, but you want to reach all of them properly. Now I'm almost done, but I'm not yet done, because we have an important part here where it's, yes, I think it's important, not the most, but it's important, and there is a trick on it. So if we remove the bobbin, and let's see, do we have it? No. So if you look here underneath, that's all the light I have, unfortunately. There is nothing to see, but if I rotate the handle, then there is something you want to see. It takes a drop of oil, yes, but first make sure it's clean, because this is a dusty, or if you want, area with plenty of fabric debris, tiny debris, and just take a magnifying glass and look with a flashlight. Make sure you see the silver piece of metal underneath the hole. Only then get one drop of oil, not more than that, because it's going to leak on the gears behind, underneath, and just one drop of oil. Don't be afraid. Normally you just put it in there, try to get it inside with that toothpick piece if you have, and it should not touch the bobbin when you put the bobbin back in place. So these are pretty much the oiling points of this machine. You know, perhaps these are machines that have plastic gears. I think the way they fail, it's actually two-way, maybe more than two. If someone put the wrong grease, the wrong oil on it, that will just make the plastic more fragile. But most of the times, I think what happens is someone puts grease on those plastic gears. Decades ago, that grease hardens in between two teeth, just like a hard piece of something. And when someone tried to spin the machine, the tooth from the other gear, it's trying to push on that hardened grease. It can't, and it shatters. Or the gears will just crack in the middle. On the side. If there is a crack on the side, I think it's still, you can still use the machine. I don't think it's really affecting the stitching. But if it's missing one or two teeth, then it's pretty much game over. Replacement is very difficult, even though the parts are cheap on eBay, but replacement is not a good thing. And also, let me finish. So for this reason, I recommend this machine. Don't use it on hard to sew fabrics. No denim, no leather. Just use these machines for something just, you know, more gentle fabric, because you don't want to put too much pressure on those gears. And also, perhaps don't use it always at high speed, right? That also puts more stress on the gears. Finally, this machine has two belts, one for the engine and one transmission from the top to the lower shafts. From what I've seen on this machine, I believe the belts are original. I think they last really long time, so don't worry about belts. However, if they come to break for some reason, maybe it has been used a lot, it's not something that I will try to change myself, those belts. So consider that machine end of life.